Hi, welcome to the small shed. Just when I think things couldn't get any stranger in the shed, along comes another project. See you in a minute. Hi, just a quick insert here just to let you know how I'm getting on. These two videos are sort of bonus in as much as they were done before I was whipped off into hospital. And both basically are themed around the fact that it's Remembrance Weekend, and the one tomorrow is particularly relevant in that it's stuff that I did when we were on holiday in Normandy. Today it's just basically sort of military themed, and it will explain the deck chair assembly that was on the bench the other day when we did the shed tour. But just a quick catch up. I'm 5 weeks in from when I was first taken into hospital. Been at home 3 weeks now. Things are starting to pick up in regards to all the markers that they have with blood tests that show how well the infection's being dealt with. We're still on fairly heavy doses of penicillin, but we're getting there slowly but surely. The antibiotics are working and I'm getting around a bit more. Two problems at the moment. One is slight lack of stamina because I've been sitting around and lying around for a long time, and the other one is basically a lack of mojo as well. I haven't seemed to want to get out here much, but I am starting to move out into the shed now. It's going to take time, but rest assured, as soon as we get back into full swing, we'll be getting some videos done, and there's been a couple of things done very slowly, but only tentative at the moment. But just to let you know, things are still on track. We are getting better, and hopefully I won't be too long before I'm back doing videos. Now, a few weeks ago we had a guy turn up at Men in Shed's shed who had, we'd met him before at the church when we were doing the Christmas stable thing for the nativity scene. And he brought in what was, to all intents and purposes, a Lee Enfield 303 rifle. But it wasn't. It was a training rifle that he had that is, it has the same weight, feel, look of a normal rifle. It's just that it hasn't got a barrel. Instead of the barrel, there's a mechanism which has a pair of pins that it fires out like that. When you pull the trigger, and they were used in around wartime and post-war for training because it saved ammunition. It meant you could get people trained up to use a rifle without having to actually go outdoors, so you didn't need huge amounts of space as well, or even, you know, firing ranges.
Here is a device designed to improve the marksmanship of every man who hopes someday to have a shot at a jerry. The Swift training rifle has the kick in the butt just like a service rifle, and the arrow points pierce the target exactly where you aim them. It is magnificent training for home guards. Besides improving your accuracy, it's good fun. The target is composed of the figures of men drawn to scale as they would appear at the appropriate ranges. We don't know yet whether we're likely to be invaded, but if every man in the British Isles can shoot straight, it'll be easy meat. Bisley training is invaluable, but not everyone can get to open-air ranges, and they also use ammunition. This training rifle can be used in any small room.
So we had a look at this, and he'd got all the details of it. He got some targets that came with these things. So this was something he'd come across. He was interested in military stuff and anything to do with World War II. But he hadn't got the frame for the to attach the rifle to and to hold the targets, so he wanted us to make one. Now there's very little around by way of information on them. I found an auction site picture of one, and we had some drawings which are around on the internet of how these things were used. It was multi-purpose. You could set it up on the ground and people could learn to fire prone on the ground. You could put it up on a table and they could stand and fire, or they could kneel and fire. expected. So that's the job for the day. I don't know what we need much, but other than it's basically going to be made out of straightforward, I don't know, 2x1 type timber. So we go down to the mini shed and have a look. I've got an idea that we had a load of shelving racking that was taken out of I think it was a mountain warehouse shop or something, but it's all primed up and roughly the right sort of sizes. So I think I'll go down there, have a look, grab some timber, cut it up a bit, and then we'll see what we can do when we've got a kit of parts.
Before I left it, I scanned it.
Now, I'd cut a lot of the timber and I knew roughly where I wanted to go. I'd got the original sketch that came with it, which gave me some idea of size. The one thing I had not been able to do was sort out the size for the actual target, because being as inefficient as I am, I'd lost the bit of paper that I'd been given. And I had to clear out in the car the other day, and I've now found that. And that's got the actual size of the target for me. So that kind of sets everything up from that then, because having got that picture, that gives me an indication of roughly the size of the frame which holds the picture, and then having got the size of the frame sorted, I can then move on and get the actual framework that holds it all up. So having got that now, I can start and make this framework up to the picture that I'd originally got. I've had a busy day at the shed today, so I didn't get half done what I wanted to, but the most important thing is I've got the framework sorted for this holder of the targets themselves for the Swift rifle. Now that will slide in between two pieces of, or three pieces of timber on either side, which will be fixed up to make a frame with a rebate in it in the middle, and they'll be going up and down in that. Right, it's got the frame glued up. I've glued and screwed it. Just going to put a clamp on it, although it shouldn't really need it while it's drying, but it'll make sure it sets in a flat manner. Now I've cut myself a couple of side pieces and a couple of transverse pieces. Just going to screw them together, get the basic framework. This is the piece that will actually hold this frame in sliding runners. Still not yet decided quite whether or not I'm going to strip this back to bare wood. That's got the main frame put together. There's still all the inside slider rails to go in yet, but we'll worry about those in a bit. And there's a cutout got to go in there for the actual rifle itself, but I need the rifle to measure and put that in, so that can go in later on. And I think I'm going to cut a small half thickness cross piece in there underneath that piece, to stiffen it all up. These ends will be rounded off because it folds up like a deck chair on those pivots there and there, so that will just smooth that end over. Left myself a little bit of slack in there. We can always pack it out with a bit of something slidey like plastic card or something on the inside, just to help us with the running when we're finished. But we'll see how we get on first of all with the side runners in. Cut those next to fit. Starting to get somewhere with the frames on this now. The trouble is, it's one of these jobs that actually takes up too much room in the shed as it grows and becomes put together, but I think I'm starting to get a feel for it. I've made, that'll be a base for it. This is effectively the main frame, but I've got the rails cut so that they will go in there like that, and that part will then slide up and down in the track that provides. Now that needs something like a deck chair mechanism to swing around on, and that will be done with that, which will have like an offset pivot point in it somewhere around there, so that it will fold up when it's not in use. It will fold up like that, like a deck chair almost. So that gives me the main thing itself, but what I'll also need is some means of bracing it when it's actually put up. But we are getting somewhere now. We've got sort of 2/3 of the shape of the thing sorted. Now I've got it working as I think I want it to, but I've just had another look back at the reference video that was at the beginning of this one, the black and white one, and I realised that this basic framework is too high anyway. The thing on the ground sits at about waist height, so I'm thinking that this part here only needs to be about 900, when in fact it's currently sitting at 1150. So I'm going to chop 250mm off that. That will also in turn mean that that bit needs to go down or be shorter. So I'm just going to do that, and then we'll run it in and see if we can put it up and see how it works as a principle. Right, so I think I've now got a very rough and ready version of what I want to build. I've just put the beads in very roughly for the sliding bit. We've got a base part there which sits on the table or the floor, depending on what we do. We've got the upright itself, which has got the target in it, which can slide up and down, and we've got the support which needs some housings. It needs the ends rounding off and some housings to put that in. But I'm just going to run this into the house now and see if it looks about right in terms of its heights for using. Right, so this is the new deck chair. The idea of this thing is that it will sit on a table and can be erected like that, and it can be used with a rifle standing like that. Can stand so it's about right for level there. It can be used when kneeling with the table, and again that's about right for height on that, so that's okay. So I think I've now got the measurements about right. And then last but not least, on the floor, and again can be used prone on the floor, and it's about right for that as well. So I'm happy with that now. It's got to be stripped right back down, get all the paint off, round all the corners on all the bits that need rounding off. I've got to sort out position for this catch to make it go vertical. I need some wing nuts and ironmongery and bits for that, and I'll also have a look round at the shed for slotted screws, because I'd like to replace the posi drive heads out for slotted screws if I can, because that would be a little bit more period, and then obviously make it all slide nicely, ease the runners where necessary and wax it, and we can get it pretty much done then. The last thing that it will need is actually a fitting with the rifle itself present, because when it's resting the rifle can just be put down in a slot in the bottom of that bottom rail, but I need to measure the cutout that's needed for that just to support it, and then there are a pair of metal rails that come out from a hook underneath the rifle, and we'll hook on the inside of these rails here, so that you keep it at the right sort of distance. Okay, so I've got myself a sort of a deck chair that's got the shape, the right size and everything that I need for this job. Next thing to do now is to take it all apart, clean it, clean the wood up, round all the corners off and get it into a functioning unit, but I haven't got time for that this week. So I look forward to seeing you next time, when we'll probably be putting it together for the final time and assembling it all. See you then. Bye.